So we are back again with another video, and today we're going to be doing our season review for 2021. And I have to say it has been a very difficult season on and off the pitch for Arsenal Football Club. And yeah, we are going to be going through just a little review, going over everything that has happened this season, where we got in all the different competitions, how well we did, and we'll also be going over the player ratings for the players. So if you do enjoy this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and let's get straight into the review. So we did finish in the Premier League 8th position, and again, that's no change from last year because last season we did finish 8th as well. Not good enough for Arsenal Football Club, granted, but look, this manager, I switched on him in November, and I haven't looked back since because he hasn't been good enough this season, Mikel Arteta. And for me, it should have gone after that poor run in November, in a run in which we won only like one game out of 13 or something crazy like that. And I think that's the point where he should have gone. But there was a turnaround in form come the end of December, actually, where we beat Chelsea 3-1 at home, which was a very good result for us. And our form started to change. We beat Brighton a few days later, then we beat West Brom. We had a few draws after that, and then it sort of started fading away slowly. And then we had some very poor results to the likes of Liverpool, a few more poor results against Man City, some of the bigger teams, but we really didn't get going. And then these last few games just before the season has ended, we have actually ended the season quite well, because we've won literally our last 5 odd games, Newcastle, West Brom, Chelsea, Crystal Palace, Brighton. We've won all these games, basically every game since the Villarreal knockout we've won, and it's meant that we can finish 8th with 61 points. Now, we are a few points ahead of what we finished last season, but only this time it can secure us 8th. We are going to miss out on Europe for the first time in 25 years. Not good enough for Arsenal Football Club, as I said, and you can't really do much more about that because it is what it is. And yeah, it's been very poor this season, and hopefully we can improve. But what's the guarantee? Will we improve? Will we not improve? But it is what it is, and we have to move on from that and try and be a bit more positive moving into the season. But in the Europa League, we actually got to the semi-finals, and we got knocked out by former manager Unai Emery, which wasn't good enough again for us because you can't be getting knocked out to your former manager like they knocked us out at the Emirates. Could have given us the big one, but he didn't. Fair play to him, respectable manager. And in that run, we played who did he play? Rapid Vienna, Molde, Dundalk, Benfica, Olympiacos, Slavia Prague, and Villarreal, which we ended up getting knocked out to. And as of recording, there's no result for the Villarreal Man United final, so we don't know who won that yet. But obviously, I think by the time you watch this video, you'll find out who won it. But in all, again, this wasn't good enough. And in the FA Cup, round 4, we got knocked out to. We needed extra time to beat Newcastle in round 3. Smith Rowe and Aubameyang getting extra time goals towards the end to win us that one. Before 2 weeks later, we lost to Southampton, which again wasn't good enough because 3 days later we actually beat them in the league away from home, which is so annoying. But it is what it is, and I think one of the main reasons we didn't go for the FA Cup as much because we won it last year, so maybe Arteta's job wasn't riding on that. But I think as the European knockout has proven, including the Premier League result, he should be sacked anyway. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, it is what it is. And in the Carabao Cup, we got to the quarterfinals, getting knocked out to Manchester City, who did go on to win it. So we did get knocked out to the eventual champions. That was the game where Ronaldo absolutely messed himself up, causing us to sign Matt Ryan in January. And obviously the transfers, we'll go through this in another video, my ideal transfer window. But we did sign the likes of Gabrielle, Willian, Partey, which again didn't excite us, didn't do as the high levels that were expected of them, especially Willian. But we'll go through that all in the player ratings. But you might be surprised, you might not be, because I think a lot of it has to go down to Mikel Arteta and his man management, his inabilities or incapabilities of dealing with those situations. But moreover, yeah, in the Community Shield, we did actually win it. That was Emiliano Martinez's last game, and he's gone on to do quite well with Aston Villa despite finishing 11th, I think it was. But yeah, that is it for pretty much a season review. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you guys think? How good we were this season? For me, it wasn't good enough, and if it was up to me, I'd probably get rid of Arteta, because 8th is never good enough, especially the expectations that were set of him at the start of the season. His objective was to try and get us into the Champions League, and he didn't achieve that. We did get close in terms of Europa League, but we were inconvincing throughout our competition, especially after the group stage. In the knockout rounds, we failed to convince, and in the end, we probably don't deserve to be in Europe, because on the last day we missed out on Conference League because Leicester bottled it yet again against Spurs as they came back to win that 4-2. But that's about it for the season review, and let's move on to the player rating. So we're going to be moving on to the player ratings now. Starting off in goal, we are going to be going with Bernd Leno. Now, Bernd Leno, it's been a mixed season for him, because I think at times he's been quite a good goalkeeper, been quite helpful for us at times, but then at other times he's been a very, let's just say, error-prone goalkeeper. You know, some of the mistakes he made, like, you know, the one in the Europa League against Slavia Prague, the game against Wolves where he decided to be Superman. Some of those games I don't think he's done enough for us, and I think he's made stupid mistakes in times, but at times he's been a very good shot stopper for us. And again, that's what you need from a goalkeeper. You need him to save goals. I think 11 clean sheets from him this season. So at times he's looked good, but at other times, as I said, he's looked very poor. But I think as a whole, I would probably give him a 5 out of 10. I'd maybe look to try and sell him in the summer. If I can't, maybe try get the best out of him. But I do see a goalkeeper there, but let's just see how it goes for him in the future. But let's move on to the next goalkeeper, which is going to be Alex Runarsson. Now, Runarsson, I'm going to give him a 3 because I don't think, firstly, he's played enough, but the games we have seen him in, he's not looked very good at all. He played 1 or 2 games against Dundalk, which weren't good enough. But yeah, the game he played against Man City, where you have to be rating him, because these are the big games you have to play for Arsenal Football Club if you want to show yourself and make yourself known. And he didn't do that, Runarsson, and I have to give him a 3. Next one, Matt Ryan. Now, some people may be surprised with this, some may not be, but I'm going to give Matt Ryan a 6. Main reason for this is, I think Matt Ryan, you know, he's come in, you know, he had to do a backup goalkeeper job because we thought Runarsson wasn't good enough. And I think he's come in and done a good job for us. And, you know, he's played a few games. Again, a lot of it has been down to the defense, but I think for Matt Ryan, I would definitely maybe try and keep him in the summer if we can. But yeah, it's been very interesting, and I'll probably give him a 6. Next one, Hector Bellerin. We are going into the defenders now, and I'm going to give him a 3. A very poor season from Hector Bellerin, and again, he's been very, very poor for us. 1 or 2 good performances, which is why he gets the 3, but a player I definitely want to leave in the summer transfer window. Next one, Kieran Tierney. Now, Kieran Tierney, I'm going to give a 7 for him. I think when he's played, he's been absolutely brilliant for us. I don't think he'll get our player of the season, because I think another player would get that. But for me, a 7 for Tierney. He's been that leader, but he's not ever got the captain's armband, which is kind of strange because that's gone to Rob Holding and Granit Xhaka. But yeah, I'm going to give Tierney a 7 for the season. Next one, Gabrielle. Gabrielle, I think he's had a very mixed season because he came in a big promising centre-back from Leo, 23 million quid, and we all thought that he was going to be that main centre-back for us. But first 3 months he got a player of the month. Wasn't hard to do so, but he still did. And then he had coronavirus, then he had a lot of different other injury, little niggle issues. And then he really hasn't really looked the same. And towards the end of the season, towards the tail end, he's starting to look a bit better, Gabrielle. But on the whole, I'll give him a 6. Next one, Rob Holding. Now, some may disagree, some may agree, maybe a harsh or maybe not. But I'm going to give him a 5.5. The main reason for giving Rob Holding maybe such a low score is because, again, he's made a lot of mistakes when it comes up against some of the bigger teams. And I don't think he's been able to show himself as much, which is something I've been quite annoyed by. And, Rob Holding, I'm going to give him a 5.5. Next one, Cedric. I can only give Cedric a 5 in my opinion, because again, he's not played enough, especially towards the end of the season. But when he has played, he has looked good at times. He had to fit in at left back as well, which is again not ideal for him, for a guy who is, you know, he is a right back, you know, and he's having to cover at left back, which isn't good for him. But I'm going to give him a 5. Next one, Callum Chambers. Now, some again might disagree with this one, but I'm going to go same as Rob Holding, a 5.5. Now, the reason I'm going to give him a 5.5 is because he hasn't played the whole season. And I think what he has done this season is covered very well at right back for us, especially when Bellerin has been in quite poor form, and he has done well for us at right back, and he has been one of our better players this season. But I don't feel I can give him more than a 5.5, which is what I'm going to give him. Next one, Pablo Mari. I'm going to give him a 6 because I think he's been very, very good for us this season. In terms of, Gabrielle hasn't been all that consistent, nor is Rob Holding. And I think someone like Mari has quietly gone about and doing his business in certain games and performing quite well for us, especially next to Rob Holding. And I think he's been that leader for us next to Rob Holding to help him, guide him, and especially our back line. So I'm going to give Mari a 6. Next one, probably our best defender this season, and that is David Luiz. And I'm going to give him a 7. I think he's probably been our best centre-back this season. And maybe best defender, if you don't want to count Kieran Tierney. But he's been someone who's not really had many injury issues. Well, the one he had towards the end of the season. But he's been quite a fit player and quite a prominent player for us ever since Mikel Arteta has come into the side. And he is going to be leaving this summer, quite unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, I think it's time for him to go. But, I think with David Luiz, it's one of them ones. I think David Luiz, he can make a lot of mistakes, but in some games his experience is quite vital. And as we saw in the celebrations after the game against Brighton, there was a big celebration for him. He is very respected among the Arsenal players, and I think David Luiz, we might need to replace him, maybe not. We have Saliba coming in, but we'll just have to see. But I'm going to give him a 7. Moving into the midfield, first of all, Bukayo Saka. I'm going to stick him in that midfield. He's played defence, attack, midfield. He's played everywhere. But for Saka, I'm going to put him in that spot there. And I'm going to give him a 7.5. He is my player of the season, Bukayo Saka. And I don't think anyone in our squad really gets higher than a 7.5. But yeah, Saka was probably our best player this season. And that's what I'm going to give him, a 7.5 rating. Because I think Saka, although the stats wise you could say Pepe is better, Ubba's better, Laka's better, but I think someone who's been consistently at a good level this season, I think it has to be Saka, which is why I'll give that award to him. Next one, Dani Ceballos, who is going to be going back to Real Madrid next season. I'm going to give him a 3. Main reason being, I know he just not performed this season. Towards after lockdown in June, in Project Restart, he was quite decent, which caused us to re-sign him back on loan from Real Madrid. But really ever since, he hasn't looked that player we thought he was. We saw in the Spain under-21s, and it's been a disappointing 2 years on the whole for Dani Ceballos, and maybe he can go to Madrid and find a better club, because he ain't going to get in Madrid's team. So Dani Ceballos a 3. Next one, Martin Odegaard. He came in January, and he's probably going to go back to Madrid in the summer. We'll just have to see what happens with that one. But Odegaard, I'm going to give him a 5. Maybe more, maybe less. Some may disagree, some may agree. I think this fan base is quite split on Martin Odegaard, because I think he's a player that has had very good games, but then some games he's been quite missing. But I think that's been the same for quite a lot of our players this season, I feel. And I think a 5 is fair for him. Next one, Thomas Partey. Now, I'm going to give him a 5 as well. Some may give him lower, but the reason I'm going to give him just a 5, because I think he's had very good games and we've seen glimpses of what he can be, but he's had a lot of injury issues, combined with the fact that Mikel Arteta has handled him very badly in terms of team management with him, which is why I feel a 5 is fair for him. Next one, Mohammed Elneny. I think he has probably been one of our best midfielders this season, if you want to count Saka as a forward, because Elneny, he's been someone who's been consistently average this season, and a lot of our players have been consistently poor this season, like your Granit Xhaka, like your Dani Ceballos, and I think Elneny, I'm going to give him a 6. Likewise with Smith Rowe, I think when he came in, he had to play a lot of games, and then I think towards the end of the season, it feels like he's tired out a bit. But again, that's expected. He's never really played this many first team games before at such a high level for Arsenal before, or any other big team. So it's going to be difficult when you're coming in mid-season. But hopefully he can have a good pre-season and come back stronger when he can hopefully play a lot of games for us next season, maybe 40 odd, because we're not going to have Europe. So it's not going to be 50 odd games next season. It's probably going to be about 40 odd, even that. Next one I'm going to go with is Granit Xhaka, and that is the last midfielder. For him, I'm going to give him a 4. Again, not good enough this season for us, Granit Xhaka. And let's be real here. I think he has to leave. He has had 1 or 2 games for us. Obviously, we saw the Xhaka boom against Chelsea, the 1 a year shot from him. But yeah, other than that, he's not really done much this season for me. Again, some are saying he's a leader and this and that and this and that. But for me, well, not for me anyway, because I don't really like Granit Xhaka. Some do, some don't. But yeah, I think he has to leave, and I'll give him a 4. Next one, Alex Lacazette. We are going to move in to the forward line now. And I'm going to give him a 6 because he's our top goal scorer. I don't think he can get more than that because he's not been consistent that much this season. You know, when we've needed him, he stepped up. When Aubameyang's not been available, he stepped up. But yeah, I'm going to give him a 6. Next one, Willian. I'm going to give him a 1. Again, maybe a bit harsh, but what has he provided? You know, he came in with that expectation, with the high wages from Chelsea, Premier League proven forward. You expect him to come in and give us maybe at least 15 GA this season or something like that, 15 to 20 GA. And maybe if we did, we could have got Champions League football, but he didn't. And he's been very poor for us this season, and 1 for me. Next one, Aubameyang. I'm going to give him a 4. He's still our third or second top scorer this season. And for the expectations required of Aubameyang, who's been a world-class striker over the last few years, this season hasn't been good enough. Yes, he's had a lot of issues. He got malaria. I think he had a few family issues at one point. So a lot of things haven't gone his way off the pitch. But on the pitch, he hasn't got the job done for us, which is why I have to give him a 4. Next one, Nicola Pepe. He's got a lot of disrespect from fans. And I think in some ways he has tried to build that trust with the fans. And for me, he gets a 6 because he's been a player disrespected a lot, and I really like Nicola Pepe, and hopefully next season he can take his game to the next level and show that £72 million price tag. Next one, Eddie Nketiah. I'm going to give him a 3. Again, towards the second half of the season, he hasn't played at all. He really prominently featured the first half of the season, and I'm going to give him a 3. Next one, Gabrielle Martinelli. And for Gabrielle Martinelli, for me, it's a very interesting one because he really hasn't played that much under Mikel Arteta, especially towards the start when he was back from injury. Because, yeah, I don't know, Arteta maybe was worried, but then he got injured in the pre-warm-up versus Newcastle. Did a video on that if you want to go check that one out. But yeah, I think he's sort of tried to be careful with him at some point. I get that, but I don't get that because, you know, just play him and see what happens, I guess. I don't know. It's a tricky one for me to say, but yeah, for Martinelli, I'll have to just give him straight down the middle of 5. Last one is Mikel Arteta, my rating for Mikel Arteta. And for me, I'm going to give him what am I going to give him? A 3. Because I think he has very much underachieved this season in terms of what our goals were. Champions League football, he couldn't get that. Yeah, he couldn't get that at all. FA Cup, we got commiserated. Same with Carabao Cup. Could have won us the Europa League. No Europe in 25 years. I should give him lower than a 3, but I think there have been glimpses this season of something, but we just haven't seen it consistently enough, and which is why I'll have to give Mikel Arteta a 3. So if you haven't enjoyed this season review and player ratings, please leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys in the next one.